This video features hot takes from Discord and some in real life friends. To get your transit hot takes featured in part 2 of this video, watch to the end because I'll tell you how to do it. Los gates. Tonzi says park and rides are actually good at terminal or near terminal stations. Thank you, totally agree. The hate for park and rides is understandable when it's in a busy area or, near downtown, but as someone who's always lived further than the last metro stop, park and rides are essential for keeping, one, tons of cars outside of downtown and alleviating traffic, and two, getting more people, suburbanites who are rarely ever going to take a bus, to consider taking transit. All right, so Jules in Los Angeles says, by the time that you build BRT on its own right away, you should just go all the way and put down rails. I say this as an LA resident, the G line is ridiculously dumb and should have always been a train. Yeah, buses and their infrastructure are cheaper to implement, at the beginning, but once demand exceeds service, then it costs a lot of money to continue running buses and running more buses with more drivers and more vehicles than to just originally put in a train that can carry way more people per vehicle than most buses. Latin America is often seen as like this BRT paradise. However, a lot of the BRT systems there are so busy these days that they really should have been a metro or at least light rail in the first place. And these days, the buses get so crammed, it's insane the pictures you can find online. I believe that BRT was chosen because it is a lot cheaper to implement than a full-on metro or even light rail. And these cities and countries in Latin America aren't exactly super rich. And metros cost a lot of money. Nomad says trams are overrated. It's gonna trigger a lot of Europeans and plenty of Americans too. I know you live in the GTA, so your streetcars do kind of suck, except the one that has its own right of way on the waterfront. But your experience in the GTA, I understand. I haven't yet to experience a good European or one of the few good American tram systems, so I don't really have an opinion yet, but I just don't like how slow they go. I guess I'm just really used to the super fast metro around here. DecoPunk 1927 says that no new communities developments should be built without transit or walkable amenities. I guess this is a bit of a hot take in the general American zeitgeist, but within the transit urbanism community, I wouldn't say that's really very hot of a take, but America-wise, sure, definitely. Ben says that their hot take is that bus planning is too ignored for their importance within the full-on transit planning sphere. And I would also tend to agree with this. I am personally interested in bus planning. However, I haven't taken any official classes or anything yet, so I don't really have an opinion on that. But it would not surprise me at all if trains, because they're seen as cooler and nicer, are given more resources for planning rather than buses, which are kind of whatever, even though buses make up the backbone of most transit networks out there. She also says that trolley buses are not the silver bullet that transit advocates make them out to be, and that they're inherently technologically handicapped. I haven't really seen people say they're the silver bullet. I know people like them because they do make more sense on the busy routes, on the routes that run all the time, on the routes that go the most downtown, the busiest places. But I've never seen people say that they will just fix transit and make it all better. I haven't seen that personally. On the technological handicapped side, I haven't really seen that either. Maybe you're just talking about de-wirings, which were way too common in Miles's trolley bus video. But other than that, the tech's been around for more than 50 years. It's definitely a mature technology. Rania says that interurbans never actually go away, and that many light rail systems in the United States are just modern-day interurbans, and that the term interurban in general is just kind of incredibly nebulous and kind of put on everything, which I tend to agree with. Interurban is it's a term that you just see thrown around the circles, but I'll put up a definition of the word interurban. It sounds like it just goes interurban, so between urban areas. However, these days urban areas are so big, metro areas, including all the suburbs, that Amtrak is kind of an interurban these days because it goes between metropolitan areas. Back when cities were smaller, you could have a trolley line go from the main city to a city on the outskirts, and there'd be rural areas in between, so it would be between two urban areas. Behind me is the definition of car-dependent suburbia, so I think it's appropriate to record this here. Cristo Silvia says that the U.S. should acquire suburbs by eminent domain, demolish them, and then relocate everybody to high-density housing in cities. The place that the suburbs used to take up should be solar power and farms. This is very very contentious. This isn't happening in today's, this just is not gonna happen, ever. Ever. It's too much people care about suburbia. This isn't happening, dude. I don't know what planet you're living on. Goodness, the wind is insane today. Steve says, as someone who got their marketing degree in college, transit authorities in general have really suck at advertising their services. What's worse is that it wasn't like this. Those old Metro ads, the songs made for Red Arrow lines and the IND subway, and also Amtrak's marketing campaign when the Acela was first released, those were really good and it got people interested. I agree, and I don't think anyone would really disagree with this take. But it is true, there's not very much money. Oh my gosh, this hair's insane. There's not much money in the budget for like advertising, and I'm not sure why. I guess just because it's a public service. Like no one advertises the police or the fire department or anything. It's not a priority. All right, I asked my friend Tom from the channel Trains Are Awesome. You've probably seen it at some point. If he had any of these hot takes, and he gave me a whole list, so I'm just gonna go through them and say if I agree or disagree. So his first hot take is that Amtrak Virginia should be its own service and separated from the Northeast Regional. Maybe. I do like that you can take a train from here in Manassas all the way to New York or Boston if you want to. Same thing you can do from Richmond or Virginia Beach or Norfolk. You can go all the way to Boston or New York City. Yeah, if you could only go to DC, then I guess you'd have to transfer to another train to continue north, which would be really annoying. And I think a decent amount of ridership does go all the way up to like New York, which is a massive place. So I don't think I'm gonna have to agree with this one. Tom's number 2 is that BRT is almost always not the best solution, and this is probably more of a case-by-case basis. I'd have to see how much it would cost and how much like ridership and like development it would be versus how much it would cost in ridership to build like a train rather than just a busway. If we can take an old road or just add a lane to a road, you know, create some like Jersey barriers or something to keep cars from going on the buses, then BRT might work, but this is going to be a case-by-case basis. Number 3 is that the DC streetcar should be shown on the Metro map, and I agree. I mean, as long as they could do it in a nice way, which I'm sure some really good graphic designer could do, it does go to a decent amount of places that the Metro just does not go. Number 4, the New York subway is not as dirty as Philly or Chicago. I've never been to New York. I did go to Philly, and I didn't really see that much disgust. Obviously not as nice as DC, but it was not too bad. And Chicago, again, haven't been to, no opinion there. Tom's number 5 is that the MBTA in Massachusetts is really cool. Again, I've never been there. Looks cool to me too. Hopefully I can go at some point. Tom's number 7 is that a Detroit to Grand Rapids train should be Michigan's number 1 priority, which is kind of funny to see. Again, I've only been to Michigan 2 times, to Detroit both times. But that would be nice. I know Tom used to live in Grand Rapids, so I think I know why he's so invested in this one. Tom's number 8 is that WMATA should have a program that authorizes well-behaved pets to ride on the Metro. I know that Tom just got a dog, so this might be part of that. And I would be fine with animals on the Metro as long as they were like within some sort of crate. That might be policy now, I'm not sure. All right, Tom's number 9 is that America is not too big for high-speed rail, and going from New York to LA high-speed rail, that doesn't make any sense. But there are city corridors that have more people within the cities than places in Europe and places in Asia that have a high-speed rail. For example, the Texas Triangle, of course the Northeast Corridor between DC and Boston, and Portland, Seattle, and Vancouver, Windsor, Canada to Montreal, Chicago to Minneapolis. There are definitely city pairs that have lots of people, and there is demand for travel between the cities. The main problem with HSR is that it's just incredibly expensive. We're seeing with California how government can get in the way, business can get in the way, and a million things can cause issues. So hopefully Brightline between Las Vegas and San Bernardino can pave the way for more American high-speed rail. But each locality is gonna have to figure out how to fund it because the feds are not gonna do that at least for the next 4 years. Number 11 is that Alstom trains are ugly. Alstom, I believe, is a French company, so that's a fair thing to say. Number 12, how do I even do that with my hand? Oh, no, that's 10. I don't know, number 12. Obama-era streetcars are not inherently bad. I'm gonna have to disagree on the transit side of things because these streetcars usually only run every 15 minutes. They're incredibly slow and they don't really go many places. I'm sure there are plenty of people who have found them useful, and that's good that the service is there for them. But what these streetcars were really meant to do was to entice development of, residential, commercial, all kind of stuff along the corridors that they were constructed on. So these transit projects were less of a move people around tool and more of a how do we get more people to move to our city tool. And in that retrospect, some have done a really good job, like the Portland streetcar, the Kansas City streetcar, which is getting an extension that makes it more useful. Kansas City is one of the best ones, definitely. But a decent amount of them have generated development along their alignments, which is pretty good. The last one that Tom sent me is that transit should not be free on big systems, and I do have to agree with him on this one. For big systems, it's good to have some money come in that's not connected to the local politicians and state politicians, and once in a while federals as well, because we have seen how fickle that local politics can be when it comes to funding things. And on small systems, it does make sense for things to be free or at least really cheap, just because smaller systems are less useful and making them free makes it more useful to more people. But large systems generally, especially ones that have like a rail system like WMATA or the MTA in New York or Boston or Chicago, those bus systems should definitely be paid, even if it's cheaper than the train. Having payment on systems also generally means that there will be less shenanigans on buses, less riders who are causing issues. Alexandria's Dash system recently went free, and well, that has made ridership go up, which is good. Bus drivers have also reported more incidents and more shenanigans. If I can find that document that I read a few months ago, I'll put it on screen now. Congratulations, you made it all the way to the end of the video. Very proud of you, congratulations. Let me know your transit hot takes in the comments down below, and I'll make a part 2 to this video featuring your hot takes from my community post from some time ago in the comments on this video. Thanks for watching, have a great day. Technologically, oh my gosh, I can't say this word.